welcome everybody to Healthy Seminars. This is another one of our Community Unity Immunity lecture series. And our speaker today is David Hartmann. And again, thanks for everybody that comes in with their cameras on. That's a big part of our Community Unity Immunity idea, is to bring together the profession. We started this back in March 2020 because of the pandemic known as COVID-19. And we just started to, even though we had physical isolation, we didn't have to be socially isolated. And it was a good way to get away from the TV, the news, and kind of be together and learn. And so we continued it. Here we are recording this in December of 2020. Nobody thought we would still be in the situation we are, but here we are. Humans adapt. And so not that we like it, but I do think we're adapting, like we're becoming used to this way of life and used to being on Zoom more. So here we are on Zoom, and we're happy to have David Hartmann offering another lecture. And I just want to do a little housekeeping. So I'm going to just share my screen here and let you know that our Community Unity Immunity page, it's under resources on the menu at the home page. And if you scroll down, you'll find our calendar of events. So this is for December, and on it will have our free events, the Community Unity Immunity stuff. It'll also have webinars that are scheduled that are approved for CPDs and PDAs and CUs. So do check out the calendar and switch the month around if you want to see what's coming up. And also, if you want to see if there's any recordings you missed, you can check out the calendar as well. Often the replays will go underneath the calendar. So these are, and they usually stay up for right now for 24 to 48 hours. I will share with you that starting in early January 2020, they're going to get archived in our library that we're launching. And so we'll be in that library, we'll have past recordings and future recordings of these free lectures that we're calling Community Unity Immunity, these live webinars that get recorded. And we're even going to bring back many of the ones from Medigogy. For those that remember Protease seminars and Medigogy, all those lectures on Medigogy, we're putting those into the library. So we got a really good vault of lectures that's going to be released in January through the Healthy Seminars library. So stay subscribed to our email and check out our website to find out more about that. But that's where you'll find the replays. For this replay today in December of 2020, it will be up for a good 48 hours. And so the topic here is the explanation of the Acupuncture Point Combinations, that's the APC acronym, of kidney spirit gate and outer bladder spirit points. And this is lecture 3 of 3. And if you click on the link, this is where the recording is housed. So it's not on the resource page, it goes to its own page. And you'll see that 2 of the replays are up, and soon 3 will be up. And they're going to stay up for about 48 hours, 72 hours on Healthy Seminars site here that you can watch for free. And then they will disappear, and then it will be part of our library that we'll be offering in 2021. I do want to remind you of our disclaimer. So basically, this is for educational purposes only. This is for education and entertainment. This is not medical advice. It shouldn't be interpreted as medical advice because it's not intended to be medical advice. It's for educational purposes only. If you have a health condition, please do seek out a healthcare provider. Now, David Hartmann is a practitioner, international speaker. David, I'm looking to see where I moved my books around, so I'm seeing if I can grab your book. I think I have it here. There we go. He's an author, and so this is coming from this book, the principles and practical application of acupuncture point combinations. Highly recommend this book. And I asked David if he could talk about the figure 8 and the 5 spirits, and he said sure. And I said, can you do it in 30 minutes? And he laughed at me. And he said, would you be open to me doing like 3 lectures on this, a series? And I said, hey, I really appreciate you donating your time like that, as do all of us here that are listening. So thank you very much, David, for doing that. And that's how we got here. So if you missed the first 2 lectures, they're currently available until sometime in December 2020 for free to watch on through our resource page. And if you're watching this in 2021, then it's in our library now on Healthy Seminars. So David, you're welcome to share your screen. I'll give you a Healthy Seminars cheers. So good luck on this lecture. For everybody that's listening, please post your questions in the chat room. Sandra Grassa, Lauren Slowenwhite, and myself are your moderators, and we'll ask those to David at the end of the lecture. If it's really timely, we may interrupt him. And you're welcome to also unmute yourself and have that Q&A with David at the end of this. David, it's all you.
Awesome, thank you. Well, it's awesome to see you all, and yeah, it's a good little finish, this one, to the first two parts. They can stand alone. You will notice some bits potentially missing, though, if you haven't seen the other ones, but as Healthy Seminars have kindly offered, that they'll be available for you to still watch for a few days at least. So we'll get into it. Get my thing to work. Okay. So the quote I'm using today will make sense if you know a little bit about the five spirits. So the soul is dyed the color of its thoughts. Think only on those things that are in line with your principles and can bear the light of day. The content of your character is your choice. Day by day, what you choose, what you think, and what you do is who you become. Your integrity is your destiny. It is the light that guides your way. I think it's one of the really, really good quotes from a Western philosopher about a concept that we've spent the last month or so going over, which is the five spirits, because that is what defines the five spirits in a lot of ways. It's what collectively makes us unique, makes us our individual selves. And the thing I like about it is that the concept itself is from a Western philosopher, and during his time, the Greeks kind of looked at things as being quite linear. So if something was going in a certain direction, it was just going to keep going pretty much that same direction with the odd little hiccup. Whereas obviously with Chinese philosophy thinking and the medicine itself is that we have a bit of a switch, like it's an onset, offset, it's a peak, roll back off the other side. And so where Western philosophical concepts were more linear, the Chinese concepts were more cyclical. And so he was thinking a bit like a Chinese gentleman would be thinking. So yeah, I've got a little bit down the bottom there. It's quite interesting about his, a little bit about his life, but we'll move on. So part one, if you missed it, was looking at the five spirits, just defining them really quickly. Part two was looking at the figure eight, which is what Lorne Brown sort of suggested this whole workshop work around. And that's how it was built. And we looked at the three regions or powers. And then I decided to include some point combinations for the Wǔ and the Shén. And so today we're going to look at two other acupuncture point combination concepts of kidney spirit gate and the outer bladder spirit points, and then some point combinations for the three remaining spirits as well. Okay, so again, if this is your first one that you're attending, it's more just a reminder of the five spirits. So the Wǔ is your heavenly soul, the Shén is your spirit, your Yi is your thought, intellect, your Po is your grounded soul, and your G is your willpower and courage. And that's very brief. Okay, kidney spirit gate. So the two concepts that I'm talking about today, certainly in Australia, are what I'd call a loaded topic, because we're very, I guess we look at these and have a very strong opinion about what we think of them. And that's why I call them loaded, because people tend to go yes or no, not meh. So these ideas are looking at something that's a little bit controversial. So the kidney spirit gate, if you're not aware of them, are the kidney points that run through the chest here, and we'll talk about them again in a minute. But basically the idea is that they work on the five spirits, or Wǔ Shén, they work on the five elements, or Wǔ Xing, and they work on the emotions, or Qing. So often when we talk about the seven emotions, we talk about Qi Qing, as in seven emotions. So this table on the next slide is not thorough. Again, with PowerPoints, you're very limited as to sort of what you can put in them. I tend to put more in my PowerPoints than I probably should. So this is a very, very brief snapshot at what they look like. So the kidney 22 up to 27, as I said, they're on the chest. And the spirits that they're related to are listed. Again, they tend to have more than just that as well. I mean, like, for example, kidney 23, it's primarily an earth-based point, but there is some fire attached to it. And I haven't listed that there because it's a it's a more minor aspect of it. So if you see more than one listed there, like water and fire for kidney 22, it means that it's considered to be fairly equally represented within those two elements. If you look down at, say, kidney 24, you'll see metal and then in brackets and wood. So it's metal primarily with some support for wood, but it's not so much an equal distribution. So I hope that makes sense. So if it's in brackets, it's more of a support act, whereas the one that's not in brackets is its primary. And then you'll see down the bottom, kidney 27, it's primarily water and metal. I had the pleasure of reading Yvonne Farrell's 8 Extraordinary Vessels book a few years ago, actually, and her opinion about this point is that it's all 5, not just water and metal, not just G and Po, but all 5. I'm unsure as to what to think of that because I haven't probably done it enough times since I've read it to look at that, but it is something to consider. Everyone's going to have a view based on their experience, I guess, and that's one I thought that I would share with you as well. So the emotions are also on the side. Again, it's not exclusively just those emotions, but they're the ones it's more likely to be. One could argue that depression, for example, could really go in any of those because depression is such a wide-ranging emotion and is affected and affects so many different organs that we have in the body. I talk about depression in more detail in my book that Lorne showed as well. So how do you use the kidney spirit gate points? So if they are kidney 22 to 27, well, how do you use them? Do you choose them based on going back and going, okay, well, I've diagnosed my patient as an earth element imbalance, so I'm going to choose kidney 23. And if that's the case, great. Well, what else do you do? Well, that's the only point that's exclusively earth. So then you would look at combining that point with a selection of other earth-based points around the body. So my brain would automatically think, okay, well, what else have we got? Well, there's earth channels like spleen and stomach. There's also earth points on earth channels called orrery points or clock points. So they would be spleen 3 as earth of earth and stomach 36 as earth of earth. So now I've added more points. So I've got my earth kidney spirit gate point. I'd do it bilateral. And then you have spleen 3, stomach 36, did them bilateral or up to 6 needles. Is that still enough? Maybe not. So maybe I'd start to think about where I could go. I've got some on the legs, the feet, the trunk. Maybe I'm looking for an earth point on the arms. So again, I start thinking about where that might be. I might choose an earth point on, say, the lung channel, for example, because the lungs are quite supportive of, even though they're metal, they're quite supportive of earth. So in that case, that's sort of how I'm sort of building my point combination off a diagnosis. And that's option 1, is you base the points you're choosing on the patient's diagnosis. The other 2 options, at the bottom of this slide and the next slide, you take yourself and you take your patient out of it. So you take both of you out of the equation and you work based on palpation, or you work based on, if you've got a point locator, an acupuncture point locator, you can use that as well, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So basically what you do is if you're going to palpate, I would stand at the head of the table and I'd work my way down, and I would push down on kidney 27, get a hurts good feeling. So how's that feeling? Oh, yep, is it tolerable? Yes. Okay, move down to the next one, 26, get the same reading, 25, 24, 23, 22. Once I've got my baseline of what pressure I need, I go back and push them all again one more time, and I ask them to tell me which point feels off, makes them feel a bit funny in the heart or in the guts or in the head. Straight up is sharp as anything, or they feel like it's dull. Anything that's weird or different, they go, yep, and I'll say right or left. They say right or left, and then I make a little mark with, say, a highlighter on one of the points, and I work my way down. And once I've finished, I look at how many dots I have. And if I've got somewhere between 1 to 5, then I do those. And I do the dots. I don't do bilateral unless there's dots bilateral. Hope that's making sense. And so what you do then is you do the points that they need at that point exactly in that in their life. rather than diagnose and make an assumption or make an, it's not an assumption, it's an educated decision. But this is an option for you to actually choose it based on exactly what their needs are. If they start to analyze it and go, oh, I don't know if it's right or left, and oh, I'm overthinking it, they've got to get their brain out of the way. So usually a lot of us have music on in the background. Have some music on, get them to focus on the music. Stop focusing on what I'm doing, focus on the music, and then just get them back into that space. Which one, right or left? Neither. Left, right, whatever it is, make a dot. And so that treats the person for that exact point in time. And then you can look back at the list and go, okay, which ones did I do? And while the needles are in there doing their thing, you can talk to them and you can say, oh, well, you know, I had kidney 22 in on the left and I had kidney 25 in bilaterally. You might go, looks like that's a fairly strong fire combination. Explain to them what that's likely to mean and see if that fits in with their current situation in life. I've got some good examples of that in clinical practice, actually, which I can share with you via email if you're interested. My email's on that left-hand side, but it's also at the end again. As for the point locator, you do it exactly the same way as if you were pushing the points. So when you put the point locator on the skin, you set the dial at the spot where you're getting the noise coming through, but not as soon as you touch the skin, where it goes beep, beep, beep. Sorry, it's really offensive sounding. You need it to not be that strong, but you also need it to make some noise. So you set your point locator as you work your way through the points, and then you go back through it one more time. And the points that are really, really loud or make no noise at all, they're the ones you tend to focus on because you've set the baseline before you went back that second time. So again, if you need more clarity on that, please let me know via email because we've got to keep moving. Now, very quickly, each of them have their special name and special element. And I don't have time to go through this in great detail, but kidney 22 is called veranda or corridor walk. The veranda is a better image of it. In Brisbane, certainly in Queensland where I live, we have houses called Queenslanders. Not so much anymore, and they would have a veranda that actually wraps around the entire house. And the veranda is a good choice here because if you're a water archetype, you tend to stay at home a lot. If you're feeling brave, you might step out to the veranda or the deck or whatever you want to call it, but maybe not too much out into the world. But it's also the same with fire. Fire tends to spend time out in the world. If they want a breather, they come back to the veranda rather than go all the way back into the house, because they want to still see what's happening out in the world. So it's a combination of those two elements. So it's treating both of them based not on its name, but the name itself is actually quite a little helper in regards to remembering which elements kidney 22 treats. Kidney 23 has Shannon in the name, and it does mean spirit in this instance. So you might argue that fire elements involved, and that's not incorrect, but it's a more minor aspect of it. It's more the earth element because it's about balancing it out. If you remember that certain books will have the earth element sitting in the middle. You know, fire up the top, water down the bottom, and then you have wood and metal on the sides. So earth sitting in the middle is a better image of what this point is responsible for. So the earth, the center, is directly responsible for the balancing of all things, and therefore it treats the earth element. So it's a good nourishing balancing point. Kidney 24 is called spirit burial ground. It's called many things. This is probably my favorite English translation of it, even if it's not the perfect translation. Well, let's be honest, it's very hard to probably get a perfect English translation of a Chinese medicine character or opinion name. But this is the one that I like. And the idea behind it is that we're not burying something to forget about it. We're burying it, putting a tombstone up with a nice little something written there as kind of a reminder of honoring that thing. Not so much the person, but honoring that thing, because it was part of our life at one point. The idea is that we remove the thing that we no longer need in order to enhance our life and move us forward in a better manner. But we should never try to remember, we should never try to pretend that those past things in our life ever existed, because they were what made us who we are today. And so we honor that process. And by honoring it in that way, it's quite Buddhist, I guess, in a way, but it allows us to appreciate where we've come from. And we're trying not to pretend it was never there. By pretending something never exists or by swallowing it back down, we never deal with it, never bring it out of the body. And later on down the track, years maybe, your body goes, you never dealt with this. Well, now I'm going to make you deal with it. And it comes out in a very disjointed and probably unpopular way for your body and for yourself to deal with. So by burying it, we're grounding it. And so it's more Po, more metal. But as a result, it's also going to help the wood as well, because by burying and honoring the past stuff, you remove that from your body, which allows space for new stuff, which means the horn is that new stuff. It's the creativity. It's the new thinking. So it's the two of them. The kidney 25 is Spirit Storehouse, and it's pure fire Shen-based stuff. And every emotion, every other 5 spirit. That's all we need to say on that one. Kidney 26 is kind of the other way around to the spirit burial ground, and it targets more our creative thinking. And as a result of having creative thinking, we can ground that in our Po and in our metal. So it's primarily wood and horn, and then secondary Po and metal. And then kidney 27 is both water and metal. It makes sense in a way because it's a kidney point and it's high up and treats the lungs, but one could argue that all the points kind of are like that. So this is the one that's primarily water and metal, and it's treating both our original chi and the chi that our body makes from food and drink and air, which are considered treasuries. As I said, Yvonne Farrell suggests it's potentially all of the 5 spirits, not just, and all the 5 elements, not just water and metal. So there's more information on this in my book. Again, we can create a bit more of a dialogue. I've got good examples I'm happy to share via email. Got to keep moving. The next group is the outer bladder spirit points, another loaded topic. It's an interesting one. Again, people tend to have a very strong view about whether they do this or not. The idea is that, for me, they treat the 5 spirits. For other people, they don't. So what do they treat if they don't treat the 5 spirits? They treat localized disorders. Absolutely no denying the fact that if you've got pain, say, on the inside of your shoulder blade, you're going to have some good bladder points down through there. Some of them are outer bladder spirit points, like bladder 42 and 44, for example. And they will be very good at treating, say, rhomboid tension through that space. But I'm very much of the view that they treat the spirit that they're associated with. It's in the name. Doesn't automatically mean that just because it's in the name, it does it. I mean, there's plenty of points with Tien in the name. For example, they don't all necessarily treat heavenly based things. Sometimes they're just higher up the body, which means they're closer to heaven. So I get that. Not every point that has Shen in the name automatically treats Shen either. And then it depends on what type of Shen it is, because depending on where the pinyin tone lines are, it could mean something different again. Like the kidneys are called Shen. It's a different Shen to, say, the Shen or spirit. But with these ones, I'm comfortable that they treat the spirit. So there's the list of them. You've got Pohu, which is your corporeal soul door. And it is out from the back shoe point of the lungs. So they're in a row. Not only is it in line with the back shoe point of the lungs, but it's actually still over the top of the lungs. So it just in itself, it's treating the lungs and it's treating lung-based things. And since the Po is governed by and governs the lungs, then it would seem logical anyway that it would have some impact on it. So you can be clear that I'm arguing the point in favor of the points treating the 5 spirits. It's up to you. You know, I find it quite engaging to talk to people about their theories, and I don't poo-poo anything. If people have a view about something and it works for them, go for it, even if it's not the way I would do it. But yeah, I am a fan of these for the 5 spirits. They're pretty straightforward. You can see them there. There's a bit more information again in my book about them, you can kind of blow them out a bit more when you think about what each of the spirits do. So if you're looking at it going, well, what else is bladder 44 going to do? Well, yes, it treats the Shén, but what else? Well, then go back to part 1, if you haven't looked at it already, over the next couple of days, and look more at what the Shén is. And that will tell you all of the things that point can do. So it's a blown out list that will go way beyond several slides and the time that we have available to us. All right, so now we're going to look at some point combinations for the 3 remaining spirits. Part 2 had the other 2 spirits, the Hun and the Shén. I don't know if you're a face up or face down kind of a practitioner, so I'm offering treatments for both. So again, we're not going to spend much time on this, but this is a face up option. It's 17 needles. That's a lot. It might be too many. Take a few away. You might go, oh, I don't like that point, Dave. Well, then take it out. Do you need to put something else in? Not necessarily. It's giving you an option. And if you look at that and you go, yeah, I like that, then try it. If it matches what your patient needs, then you can do this treatment. I've done this treatment on patients a lot. But if you want to chop and change, alter, adjust, based on your experience, your knowledge base, what you believe will work, then please do that. It's how point combinations are created in the first place. The ancient texts that gave you point combinations, they never had to reference anything. They just said, I'm this guy, I'm a guru, do these points for this. And you just went, okay. And you didn't question it. Now, just because I might be some form of guru doesn't mean you have to listen to me. This is an option for you. So there's a reason for why they're there, because again, I don't have time to go through each point individually, but you'll see I have points on the head, the face, the neck, the trunk. In this case, it's face up, so the trunk obviously has to be the front, arms, legs. So it's a combination of points that are sensibly scattered all over the body, which is what I'm a fan of. I want the energy to be constantly zinging through all parts of the body. I don't want points to be too far away from one another in case there's stagnations between them. So I'll have orrery points here, like earth of earth. I've got front move points, which makes sense because it's a front treatment. And then I've got a range of other points. By calming Shén, you can't not calm every other spirit. So they're there as well. And then if you go face down, some of the points are the same because you can get to them whether they're face up or face down. So spleen 3 and stomach 36 are staying because they're earth of earth. And by treating earth element, croaky, excuse me, got my water this week, thankfully. So by treating the earth element, you're treating the yi because it's where it's housed. In this case, it's face down, so we're doing back shoe points. And we've got the outer bladder spirit point, which is bladder 49. You might go gallbladder 20 and bladder 10, Dave. That's a bit too many points around the neck. That's up to you. Leave one out. Do it unilateral, so it's only 2. It's up to you. And this time it's 16 needles. We look at Po. We're now looking at metal. So we might have metal on metal points, we might not. But this is only 12 needles this time. You'll notice I have do 20 and kidney 1 a lot because they are very good at regulating energy up and down the body. And they are very good at regulating a lot of the spirits. And with the Po, we really want to regulate energy up and down because we want to be grounded in Po, but we don't want to be too grounded. We don't want to have concrete boots. We don't want to be so far away from heaven that we don't have free thinking anymore. But at the same time, we don't want to have, we need to still be grounded. Otherwise, we'll float off into the horn and then we won't be grounded where the action is and where the structures and processes are. So we want to have that balance point. And so having the highest point and the lowest point is really, really helpful in this instance. We've got front move points. Ren 17, I absolutely love for regulating pretty much every emotion and all of the 5 spirits. And then we've got lung 3, which is a very, very good point for the Po. It's one of those interesting ones that the classics say, never needle more than 100 times in a person in their lifetime. but then they don't say why. And then would you really needle lung 3 on any one person more than 100 times anyway? I doubt it. It's a pretty obscure point. But yeah, it's in, I can't remember which classic it was, but yeah, it's interesting in the classics and what they'll say, but then don't have to actually explain why they said that, pre-referencing and pre-justifying. Then if we're face down, I've still got do 20 and kidney 1 because you can still get to them. Now we've got the back shoe points and we've got our outer bladder spirit point again. In this case, bladder 42. Now, I would consider bladder 44 as a point you could use for pretty much any of the 5 spirits. And it's still over the lungs. So you're still kind of targeting the PO anyway. Large intestine 4 has been included. It's probably a bit of a bizarre one, and you don't have to have it if you don't want, but it is the Yuan source point, and it is a metal channel. So would you use it? Maybe. Might you not use it? Maybe not. Look, it does treat Shén-based conditions. It does treat emotions. It really depends on what book you read. I think everyone's happy that large intestine 4 treats the head and face and the mouth and all of the sense organs, really. But will it treat emotions is a little bit more debatable. But since I've already gone debatable today, let's go with another point that's questionable. I like it, but it's up to you. And then we've got willpower. So face up. And this time, even though it's willpower, that's a kidney urinary bladder based spirit. So I've still kept kidney 1 anyway. And as a result, I sort of thought do 20. Let's keep it. I like Ren 4 and Ren 6 almost be above gallbladder 25 as local points to treat the kidneys. I know gallbladder 25 is the front move point of the kidneys, but I actually prefer Ren 4 and Ren 6. I feel like they get more done. That's my opinion. In this instance, why not do both? It's not too many needles. It's only 13 in total. So you still get your Ren 4, Ren 6, and your gallbladder 25. So that's really treating the kidneys, which will really treat the willpower since it's housed there. I've got small intestine 3 there because it is a very good point to treat the Shén and the willpower. It also happens to regulate the Dumai. And bladder 62 treats the Shén, not because it's got Shén in the name, because it's called Shenmai, but it doesn't mean spirit. Mai is like a vessel. It's not spirit vessel, actually means extending. So it's a different Shén. But just to confuse, it actually still treats the Shén anyway. Oh, you gotta love Chinese medicine. You'll love it till the day you die if you analyze it like that. So it has Shén in the name. It's not Shén as in spirit, it's Shén as in extending, but it still treats the Shén as in the spirit. So there you go. Small intestine 3 and bladder 62 are opening a couple points for your Dumai. The Dumai is an incredibly good vessel to regulate your emotions. So you're seeing what's happening here. I've got points sensibly scattered around the body. I'm targeting multiple things at once, but they're working towards the same processes. I'm not trying to give the body 1,000 different jobs. I'm still trying to sensibly apply the points so that the needles go in and the body's very clear on what the instruction is. The needles go in and they go, right, Dave, I'm on it. I know what I need to do. Because it's that collective that I'm interested in. I mean, Lorne Brown used it. I've mentioned it probably in both of the previous talks. Aristotle said that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And that, for me, basically defines what acupuncture point combinations are. It's perfect. I should have changed the title of the book to that. Too late. But it's about what all the points are doing collectively that's going to make them much more effective than just using them on their own, in my opinion. And then face down, we have, again, kidney 1 and do 20 because we can. But now we've got the Yuan source point for the kidneys. We've got kidney 6 as well. I'm a big fan of both those points for kidneys. We've got the bladder 23 back shoe point, and we've got our outer bladder spirit point again because they're face down. And then I like the law connecting point of the urinary bladder in this instance, because the law connecting points, if you remember, link to their yin or yang partner. So it's giving us a yang point that's going to treat and combine well with the kidneys. So you've got kidney and bladder working together, which is where the willpower is housed. All right, that's our combinations. Again, rushed through, but please feel free to take the opportunity to go back and have a look at them. Email me for more questions. In exciting news, I have a few recordings already up with Healthy Seminars. We are neck deep in a 50-hour series, and they're in blocks of 10 hours, and then they're broken up again into 1.5, 2-hour blocks themselves, modules. And they're all around that acupuncture point combination idea. And because that's, you know, kind of what I really want to focus on, because it's an undervalued skill in my opinion. And so part 1 was on 5 element archetypes and the 5 spirits. Part 2 is on the 8 extraordinary vessels. And part 3 is on 5 elements. Now they're on those 3 things. They're also on the point combinations attached to them, but they're also on regulating emotions, stress, and mental health. So that's the more recent one. And then, as I said, part 2 and part 1 are available, plus some emotions treating fertility and a range of other ones, which you can find on the Healthy Seminars website. That's the 2 books. Lorne showed you the principles of point combinations 1, and this is the Acupoint Dictionary. This one just gives you the points for conditions. You look it up A to Z, just gives you the points. This one teaches you how to do it yourself. So they're very different, but they both have a reason for why they're in the marketplace. Good timing. My throat's just about gone again.
I will jump in while you're drinking. So some of the courses that David has, and for those watching this as a webinar, if you're watching this as a recording, you'll miss out on this, but check the chat room now, because we did put in a coupon code for you to use on David's on-demand courses, and it's time sensitive. So look on the in the chat room. If you're watching this on the recording, then that opportunity probably has passed. But I just want to share, like, as David talks about his acupuncture point combinations, I'm looking here at some of the ones that we have online. Like, he's got some ones for using the point combinations for regulating emotion, stress, and mental health. So that seems to be what a lot of the public, our patients, are needing. Extraordinary vessels, regulating emotion, stress, and mental health. So using extraordinary vessels on that topic. And then he has one related to fertility. So stress and emotions, fertility, using acupuncture point combinations. And he's constantly putting out more content, which we're really grateful for. So just check out his bio page on Healthy Seminars, and you can see what he has available on demand. Sorry, David, I wanted to give you a chance to drink. So go for it.
No, thank you. Happens sometimes, and then other times I can talk for hours and it's not an issue. So I do know why it happens, but I just have to choose to not eat those foods. Yeah. So this is a little bit more of the stuff. Facebook, you can find me. My email there is the better one to get in contact with me. I've got a blog. I haven't put anything on it for a little while, but there's heaps on there. So you're welcome to access that. That's free anyway. It's not just on Chinese medicine. It's on philosophy and history and a range of other things as well. So please feel free to jump on there. I do have all the references available for those people that wanted to look at where I get my info from. And that's a small snapshot. There's a stack more. I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to just go with what one person says, which probably would save me a lot of time if I did. But I try to find consistent beliefs. Yes, this person's saying it, so is this person, so is this person. That they're not, you know, I'm happy to listen to anybody out there. I think we all come from nowhere to begin with, and we become someone as we move through our careers. And but that's kind of how I operate. Is I don't just take one person's view. I look for consistency. So I have a lot more references.
I want to thank you very much, David, again, for putting this 3-part series together. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank Sandra and Lorianne for tech and moderating. And I want to thank you guys for coming in and interacting and being part of our community. This is the time where we're going to unmute ourselves so you can send your love and appreciation to our presenter, David Hartmann, and then also connect. I know some of you notice each other online, connect with each other. One last reminder that there's a coupon code in the chat room. You can use that on David Hartmann's online courses or any online courses on healthy seminars. And that coupon's good until the end of day tomorrow. Wishing you all the best, and let's release our microphones and send our appreciation to our presenter.
Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Thank
to
you,
everyone.
David.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody, for putting it together.
Everybody.
Thanks so much, David. This has been great.
Thank you, everybody.
You guys have
Really
been lifesavers throughout all of this. It's been just so wonderful connecting with all of the material that you guys provide. Thank you so much. It's been just so helpful, and it's been wonderful sharing it with so many other people that are interested that didn't know about you. So really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much, Joe.
you.
Appreciate you sharing
Thank
that and sending us those kind words. And it's because you guys show up that we keep doing it. If you don't want us to do it anymore, just stop showing up. So we keep feeling inspired. You guys keep showing up, so we keep doing it.
It's appreciated.
We'll always be here.
All right. Well, then we'll keep doing it. Thank you, guys. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Australia, New Zealand. Enjoy your mornings, and Europe. Enjoy your evenings, and Canada and the States, enjoy your late afternoon, early evenings. And you guys can talk amongst yourselves still if you like. I know you see friends here, so this is your chance to connect. We're going to stop the recording.